Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Welcome to our Cheap and Cheerful special today. No, we're not going to nickel and dime you. Don't worry. Actually, we know that your tickets were free. You're welcome. But today is all about fun, festive, and affordable ways to celebrate the season. So, yeah. So why don't we kick it off with a tax holiday? Have you heard? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that for 2 months, starting December 14th, the federal government will remove the GST and HST on things like restaurant meals, grocery store items, wine, beer, diapers. Now, Canadians who also earned $150,000 or less last year, you're also getting a $250 check this spring. So the pros and the cons of a tax holiday. Do we like?
Oh, interesting.
I thought you guys would like the free money.
That was me last night. Like, I was thinking, I was kind of indifferent. I was like, this is a nice gesture. But then I watched the news where people smarter than myself, they do exist, start talking about it. And there were some political pundits that called it actually embarrassing to borrow $6 million to throw a party for 2 months. $6 billion to throw a party for 2 months. And it feels like this really obvious way to attempt to sway people for the upcoming election. And this pundit urged Trudeau, quote, to go out with dignity and integrity so that the public can forget that they hate you. Wow, I was like, that hits home. But another pundit made an excellent point that, remember, Aaron O'Toole ran on this same idea back in 2021. He promised that he would implement this. And at that time, the Liberals called it gimmicky. So it is kind of interesting, isn't it, that it was perhaps gimmicky then, and it's still gimmicky now, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's performative, but it works. I like free money. I don't care. $500, but I'll tell you why I think this works. You guys remember during the pandemic in the U.S., I'm talking about our friends down there who are going through all kinds of craziness now. But during those very lean time for a lot of people, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters came up with the idea to give people a stimulus check because everybody was hurting financially. Now, one former President Trump, who's going to be president again, of course, was against the idea, but Congress pushed through and they're like, okay, we're going to pass this bill so everybody's going to get the stimulus check. Before the stimulus check went out, Donald Trump decided to stamp his signature on the memo line. Right? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
And then during this recent campaign and this recent election, what do you guys remember hearing people say about the economy? I liked it better when Trump was in charge because it felt like there was more money. I had more money. So I think as much as it's performative, I think it does stick in people's minds because currently their economy is doing great. Unemployment is down. Everything is stable. But in people's minds, because there's a little bit of inflation, things were better under Trump. And I wonder if it has anything to do with him having his signature on that memo line that sticks in
psychology. I wonder if they'll change their mind because something like this could tick up inflation. It could cause inflation when it's over.
Here's the deal. But do people do the voters see it that way?
I think voters will in this case.
I really do. I just think it's the fact that it's temporary, the fact that there's a long list of things that we're getting the tax rid of. But I don't know is it clothes? What is it? Is it diapers? Do I need to take a list with me while I'm shopping to figure out what it is? Also, when it comes to the grocery store, a lot of the things that were on that list seem to be processed foods, packaged foods, things that we're not actually supposed to be feeding our families. So should we be really receiving relief on that? I don't even know. I also think that this interesting thing about the $150,000, I think from most standards, people would think that's quite a good living you're earning, right? If you make $150,000, do you need a $250 check? Wouldn't it be better served if you took that down to maybe people who make $75,000 a year and gave them double, gave them $500.
Yeah.
I think that would make more sense for the people who are really struggling the most.
Yeah, I think the list of items is interesting because it looks like it's very much targeted for the holidays. It's like it's toys, it's a lot of gifts, and even the prepared meals and stuff like that.
Alcohol.
I think it's alcohol, beer. So I think it sounds like the government is really targeting what's the spending you're going to be doing over the holidays. But everything, we all know this about politics. It's a little bit of governance, at least that we see, and it's a lot of theater. So what we are witnessing is wonderful political theater on both sides. And so you're right. Not only did Erin O'Toole and the Conservatives float this idea 3 years ago, but the NDP had also, I mean, they're taking credit for this actually, because they said, we wanted this exemption and this is the Liberals doing our work. So you've got three major parties who've all said the same thing.
And now the Conservatives are slamming this, of course, even though the Conservatives are slamming it as well.
Yeah, but my heart goes out to retail workers trying to figure out what's exempt and what isn't.
Yeah.
So good luck over the holidays, everyone.
It's true. It's going to be a fun time.
Let's move on, because from freezing taxes to just plain freezing, which is what they do every year in Whitehorse on purpose, of course. Check out these pictures from an annual hair competition run by a local spa. Okay. Do you see the hair freezing?
Wow!
That is really cool.
Wow. These pictures are incredible. All right, so are there any winter traditions that you'd freeze your butt off for? Cynthia, I'm gonna throw
First of all, I love this. I just enjoyed that. That's art.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I hated winter for so long, and I will say that becoming a parent has changed that. And I don't know if anyone's experienced this. It's like going for these years where I would hardly leave the house during wintertime, and all of a sudden you rediscover things like going out and building snowmen, like snow people, sorry, to be clear. That is a joy. It was like an unlocked memory. That's Jaya and his grandpa doing that there. Snow angels. If you have a good snowsuit, they're actually really, really fun. And lastly, I'll say that a new tradition is that every year with their snow, Jason, my partner, he builds what looks like a luge in my parents' backyard. And my 80-year-old mother has done that. She's gone down it. But you can end up in the neighbor's yard if you don't watch it. But it's amazing. I think if you get the right snow gear, winter can be fun. It really can.
It's true. I love the snow because I feel like we haven't seen snow like that in a really, really long time. And I looked at a picture. I used to toboggan when I was a kid, and my memory was that we used to have a lot more snow. This was me and my sister at the farm, and we used to have those cheap plastic toboggans. Most of the time, those were cracked. You'd go down one hill. But this was us every winter. We like impervious to the cold. And now it snows a little bit. And I'm like, I'm in hibernation for 6 months. And so I hate to say it as a Canadian, I hate the winter. So I'm in all winter. It
hasn't worked for you.
We did the forts too, and in my memory, like the forts were like mansions with bunk beds and tables. But my favorite wintertime cold memory is coming in, and the glove technology was not what it is today. But felt like my fingers were going to fall off, and my mom would immediately welcome us at the door, and here, sweetie, and take our hands and put them under her breast.
No, she didn't. Someone else does that.
Yes. Armpits or mother's breast. Why she never had a bra on, I do not know. But Mom, it is such a beautiful and warm, very warm memory. She offered to do it to Simon once when she first met him.
No. I'm gonna top that. Here's the deal. My family, we also had a tradition. We're from the Caribbean, obviously, and when you come from another country, you're excited to see the snow. So every year we had a wonderful tradition of booking flights and getting out of here. Back to the Caribbean, and we love that tradition.
I hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, right there with you.
Okay, so is it morally wrong to go on a date for a free dinner? Asking for a friend, of course. Okay. A recent survey found that 28% of participants would go on a date for a free dinner, and 31% would consider dating someone for their wealth. So is this really such a bad thing? What do we think?
In this economy? Listen, I totally get it. I'm not going to judge. Times are tough. And there's that saying, your first marriage is for love. The second one is for money. I mean, you can use all of the sayings here. For me personally, it's not as much about the money, because I can always take care of myself. I've got my own money, and I take care of everything very, very well. However, I think that should be for all women, honestly. However, when I got together with Ryan and I thought this could potentially be something, choosing your partner is the single most important decision you're going to make in your life if you choose that. Not only for love or your future, but for finances. Let's be honest. It is as much a business transaction, getting married, as it is anything else. And so for me, Ryan was working for another company when I met him, and very quickly we're like, what kind of future do we want together? What are the finances going to look like? And I said to him, I I think you should start your own company and I think you should quit. And I said, I will bankroll this whole transition.
Wow.
Why? Not because of anything, but he has ambition and he has hustle. So I believed in the fact that no matter what, he was going to turn some lemons into lemonade. And now he's making more money than me. And so it worked out.
You believed in him. And what's funny is like my story with Simon is very similar, only it hasn't quite turned out the same as yours has, but I continue to believe in him. He's hit a number of roadblocks. He's a writer. It's not an easy thing to do or to be successful at it. And he is struggling, and I see that, and it's hard for me to watch him struggle, but he refuses to get up. That's what amazes me. He doesn't stop writing any day of the week.
He's a hustler.
He's a hustler. And it's difficult, though. It is certainly difficult, and I won't give up on him. But what it makes me think about is dating for wealth. I wouldn't trade Simon in for a new Mercedes-Benz, or you know what I mean? Like,
for some rich guy that you're not in love with.
For some rich guy that I wasn't in love with.
Yeah, well, with the dating situation, I don't like a woman using a man for a free meal, because what you don't understand is that goes on to the next woman he dates, and then these guys get a little like, you know what, I'm not here to just shell out and get you a free meal. I'm looking for a real relationship, and we have to keep that in mind when we are using these men, but still expecting them to treat us with respect and take us on dates. So we have to keep that in mind. But I think this all depends. The woman asking for money, sometimes I feel like we get vilified for asking for a partner who has money.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on who's asking. If we're talking about a young woman who has ideas of just buying expensive purses and shoes and doing her makeup all day, and she wants someone to, pay for that lifestyle, well, that's different. But if we're talking about a woman who went to university or college, whatever, and she owns her own home, she works really hard, and she's just looking for someone to add to her life, her matched equal. Her matched equal. There's nothing wrong with asking for a guy to have some money, because it's really challenging. And anybody who's dated someone who's broke, I've done that several times. It is really challenging, because you want to do stuff, and you can see it in their eyes that they want to do it with you, but they don't have the funds. So then you kind of find yourself either compromising or paying for everything. And I think after a while, as much as some people don't have a problem with it, eventually I think it wears the person who's always doing all of the paying.
So what do you think, Sid?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. I certainly, when I was out dating, everyone I knew was poor. Like, everyone was in the same way. We were all struggling artists, and so I dated, like, again, a musician, a painter, like a mattress salesman. Like, it was a bit of a mixed bag of things, but no one was making any money. And Jason came along, and what I did like about him was that not only did he have ambition, but he already did have some secure work. Like, he was already working. It wasn't just like, I want to work in film, like a dreamer. He was actually already starting to make connections. But having said that, if I could go back in time, I might give myself the advice to at least just go into spaces where there might be wealth to encounter. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm only saying this is just because I never dated that. Like, I'm making assumptions about, like, I wouldn't date for money. And it's true, I wouldn't date specifically for money, but I wouldn't also knock someone just if they have money.
No.
At all.
No,
but
that would be inappropriate.
I wasn't running in those circles at all. So I certainly wouldn't, listen, you could not make me love someone just because they have money. Not in a million years. I would take poor and lovely over that any day, but I just would have been open to it.
Oh, interesting.
Have you noticed, for example, that your favorite stars from the early 2000s are now starring in holiday rom-coms? So a writer for The Kit points out that cheesy Christmas movies could be the comeback that celebs like Lindsay Lohan, Lacey Chabert, and Chad Michael Murray need. Do we agree? Do we love this trend?
No, I don't like it at all. I'll tell you why, because I take Christmas movies very seriously. I have a list, 7 or 8, that I watch every year, while generally I bake. They're on the phone or a laptop, which is why the baking doesn't always turn out. But, like, because for me, it's about nostalgia. Like, I've watched these movies growing up, and why would you want to add something new? What? Back in my day.
They put my hands on my mouth back in my day. Sorry.
I don't want to watch a new Christmas movie. This one's blasphemous.
I mean, listen, I'm not a really big Christmas movie watcher, but I love that what's old is new again. And I don't know, Lindsay Lohan's been doing all the press lately for her movie. She looks fantastic. She looks healthy.
It's nice to see her back.
I think she's happy.
People love these movies.
They love these movies. My mother-in-law, shout out to Cecilia, she is hardcore on all of these movies. And she's like, I know they're cheesy, and I love them because with all the bad news in the world, it's just, it's fluff on purpose.
But aren't they a little
gonna end. You know how they're gonna end.
You know how
Which
they're
is
gonna
comforting.
end.
But aren't they a little too saccharine sweet? Like, I want to love those movies, but they immediately, 5 minutes in, I am out like a light.
They
Because
do
it's like,
so well,
everybody's
though.
so
Yeah.
earnest, and all the people who are singing in the town square. Like, it's not for me. So, but there is one Christmas movie I absolutely love, and it's called About Last Night. It doesn't have a Christmas, but it stars Kevin Hart. I've watched this movie a million times. If you haven't seen it and you're looking for a Christmas movie that doesn't feel like
Is it a Christmas movie?
It's a Christmas movie, and it's also a rom-com, and it is so funny and it is so good. Trust me, you will not fall asleep in this one. All the other ones, I don't know what's gonna happen, but that one is my favorite.
Okay, so what do you do if a family member asks you for money? So entrepreneur and investor Kevin O'Leary said on his YouTube channel that he will give it as a gift under the condition that that person can never ask him for money again. Okay, so do you have any hard and fast rules when it comes to lending money?
I mean, I don't have any hard and fast rules. I think it's.
Has anybody asked you?
Yeah, I've had several, not family members, but I've had several friends over the years ask
And
me for money.
what'd you say?
I have loaned money to them because in these particular situations, it was someone who I felt extremely close to. I understood the situation that they were in, that it wasn't like a character. Like, we all know those people who are constantly running out of money, making bad life decisions. This was not those situations. And so I felt like it was the right thing to do. I have the one thing I will say is that when I lend that money, I expect to never see it again.
That was what I was gonna ask.
You do? I
your
get
head?
that mentality because otherwise I don't want it to change the nature of our friendship. I kind of see it as a gift.
Okay.
So that it's kind of like, if it comes back to me, great. And if it doesn't.
Did it come back to you?
In the first case, yes. In the second case, I'm still waiting, but I believe that it will come back to me.
how's your relationship with them?
I love them. And like, I would never. I don't think I'm an altruistic person, but I think it's just right.
you are.
You know what it is?
Wow.
Here's what it is. I'll just say this. I think all of us could potentially. I'm in a comfortable situation right now. But if I ever wasn't, I want to believe that there are people in my life who would help me
Who
out
would
as
rescue
well.
you?
Oh, that's interesting because I would never ask for money, and please don't ever ask me for money also. I don't like giving it, but it's not because I'm not altruistic and I want to help. I think my help would come in other ways. And so I guess every situation is different, but I think my help comes from connecting them to things like, have you talked to a financial advisor? What about a business loan? Like, what kind of situation are we actually talking about here? Because I feel like my skills would be in helping get you educated to get your hands on money, because there's that saying, you know, if you feed somebody a fish, you'll feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, they'll fish for the rest of their lives. So I wouldn't have to take care of them because I work hard for my money. Everybody does. But I think I'd like to help you get educated so you don't have to borrow my money.
Oh my God.
What about you, Jess?
No one's ever asked me.
We can change that right now.
I'm so relieved no one's asked me because I don't know what I would do. Hearing to both of you, I would love to think that I would help them out for the exact same reason that you just proposed, that there could be a time in my life where I might need helping out. But I think I would be so nervous about it changing the dynamic of the friendship. I don't know if I could not get the money back and think, that's just such a gift, like that I gave. I don't know.
I think you would be able to, depending on the person. I think if
someone didn't return a book to me and I still remember it, you know? Like, I'm like, I remember it so clearly.
Maybe I'm no on this, only because as a single income household, there's no safety net for me. If I don't have it, I don't have it. There's no one else to catch me. So if someone came to me and be like, is there anybody else you can ask? Because if I give you my safety net, well, then what happens to me if you can't give it back to me?
What if it was just $100?
But no, well, I'll just, $100 I can do, because $100, we spent more than that on a dinner, right? You spent more than this, but I'm thinking in the thousands of dollars. But I'm thinking if this was a family member, and say I win the lottery, I still wouldn't give them money, but say they needed to go to university or college and need someone to cover the tuition, I would pay for that.
Oh, wow.
Instead of giving them the cash, I'm like, I'm gonna pay for that.
I see.
So that I feel really good about, like, don't worry about your books, don't worry about tuition, don't worry about, here's your MetroPass money, you don't have to worry about that. But just handing people a blank check and wondering if they're gonna pay you back or not, I'm like you, I'm wired, I'm watching them like this the whole time going, they don't know.
Yeah,
and every time
so resentful, they take a trip somewhere or they go out for dinner. I'd be like,
then that happens.
Anytime, nice new shoes, Melissa. Right?
Yes. Yes.
The whole time you're thinking that way, so that's why I want to prevent
it's so
I just
true.
think though that eventually, like I guess maybe it's that karma kind of idea. And again, it's a big difference between if it's somebody who asks on a regular and is, but if it's like somebody who you love, I just think, again, heaven forbid we ever get into that situation ourselves. You want to know that there's at least one person who won't resent
has your
you,
back.
who has your back.
What we do now.
During the commercial break, so Cynthia.
All of a sudden, we're all going to sleep a little better tonight. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you.
Love you.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.